The Lions feel like they're a little wobbly, and they should have lost 2 in a row. They should have lost to the Bears 10, 11 days ago.
Yeah.
They did lose to the Packers 6 days ago. Here's Dan Campbell talking about Jared Goff, who's become a turnover machine with 6 of them. 3 interceptions against the Bears, 3 lost fumbles against the Packers. Here's Campbell talking about Goff's recent struggles.
Like I told him this morning, once I'm starting to break the line of scrimmage, I got to tuck it away, and it's as simple as that. It's an emphasis we work on in practice. We're going to work on it, Like all these little things that come up, we're not going to just yell harder. We're going to give substance. You teach them, you show them. And here's where you can be a little bit better. Everything from pass pro to the rush, to the way we cover, to the way we jam, to the way we protect the football or don't protect it. There's some stuff on tape right now offensively that we're not even talking about because it wasn't a turnover that's going to cost us. The ball's loose. So it's those things we got to just keep emphasizing. But, man, I'm not getting worried. I love this. I'm serious. I love this, and I love that, man, it's doom and gloom outside our building, and we got 6 to go. We got an unbelievable opportunity, and I love it. I really do, man. So this is what we find out what we're made of.
I love the way he put that too. We're not just going to yell harder. We're going to give substance, because I feel like so many times, Chris, when like an offense has lost its way, it's just word salads. I remember thinking that with Ken Dorsey before he got fired, when things were really starting to pile up, and there was like a 25-minute press conference, and it's like, it's just words. And I understand you don't want to reveal strategies, but it just feels like they don't have answers. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to coach their way out of this corner that they've painted themselves into. I feel like Dan Campbell knows what to do. And, the reality is Goff is either going to shape up or they will ship him out. The only good news is they won't have to attach a first-round pick to him to get someone else to take him. They can just move on. They can just cut the cord and pivot to Hendon Hooker. If I'm not saying during this season, but I think right now Goff's future in Detroit is a hell of a lot less secure than it was when we entered the season.
Yeah, his last 6 games are going to be, a big part of, I think, what dictates Jared Goff's future, right? Because we know he's a good quarterback, obviously. We know that, right? But not the kind of quarterback that, again, when protection's not good or there's an injury or two, that's going to take over a game, right? He's a little bit of a guy that there needs a formula around him to succeed, which is fine. There's a ton of quarterbacks in football like that. But at the same time, I've never seen a guy who can be so good when there is no pressure in the pocket and then be equally that bad when the pressure is around him. It's not like he's a coward. He's the guy that'll stand there and, somebody's about to hit me. And if he has space to throw an in cut and he knows he's going to get crushed, he will take it all day long. But if the pocket collapses or whatever, he's got a long, elongated motion. He has no other arm angles. The way he throws and the mechanics in which he throws, they're a little awkward in itself too. We've talked about that in the past. And he needs room to throw. He's a space thrower, right? And he's not the most thick, strong guy in the world either. So when people bump him or hit him, Jared Goff is like, I would argue, is the skinniest quarterback in football. When you see him in person, you go, oh my gosh, I cannot believe he looks like this. It's extremely skinny. So he doesn't play well in those situations. But, like you were talking about in Dan Campbell, I've been around those coaches that yell harder, right? And this is not that group. Even though everybody looks at Dan Campbell and he looks like he's some big meathead who wants to go in the weight room, he's already proven to me and anybody who's following the sport that they're thinkers there. They problem solve. They problem-solved issues last year. They problem-solved this offseason with their defense. They'll figure it out and try to fix this Jared Goff situation and do the right things by him. Now it's going to be his job to make sure that coaching translates to the field and he doesn't make some of the mistakes we've seen the last few weeks.
They're at the Saints, at the Bears, who had them beaten until they mustered 2 scores at Ford Field.
Bears are scary right
left
now.
In the game.
Yeah.
They've got the Broncos. They've got the Broncos who are chasing a playoff berth, and then it finishes Vikings, Cowboys, Vikings. And you look what Brian Flores is doing. You talk about pressure and what it may do to Jared Goff. Pressure is the key ingredient to that Brian Flores defense, where you don't know who it's coming from. They'll line up a bunch of guys right at the line of scrimmage, and a guy will drop out, and a guy will rush, and this guy goes, this guy stays. You got to process a lot. You got to diagnose a lot on the fly, and guys are going to get through. They were all over Justin Fields the other night. They were all over Russell Wilson at times, and those guys have mobility that Jared Goff doesn't, and that's just the end of the season. Before then, you got to get through some of these other teams that are going to keep harassing Jared Goff. And, Chris, I think what happens is once we talk about this from time to time, you discover a blueprint. When
no
defenses are finding ways to rattle Jared Goff, other defensive coordinators are going to say, okay, this is what messes him up.
Agreed.
Let's do this and try to mess him up.
Agreed. A lot of the times once some team seems one team do something that works against, a proven entity or whatever, it's a copycat league. We talked about this with the Bills. The Bills went to London and played Jacksonville. Jacksonville played a certain way on defense. The next 6 weeks, everybody just kind of took that game plan and said, we're going to play that same way against the Bills. And they struggled, so it was kind of like the code was cracked to a degree. We'll see where. Here's the issues with Detroit. You've heard me. There's two things that really jump out to me. And you've heard me bring up one. One, there's probably three things I should say. But one, the first thing is they can't play man-to-man on defense, right? They don't have a great man-to-man secondary. So you're seeing teams with a quarterback and a weapon and a little system, they can pick them apart that way. And then when they do play man, there goes Christian Watson 50 yards deep or DJ Moore 50 yards deep. So it's a little scary that way. The other side of it is a little bit along those lines too, and this is where it affects Jared Goff. Teams have realized Amon-Ra St. Brown is really good, but he's not the guy you line up outside and everybody goes, oh, gosh, we got to double him or he'll go for a 70-yard touchdown. He's a slot guy that works intermediate routes. Teams have realized you can man up Detroit. There's only one guy in Jamison Williams that's scary, and he doesn't play a ton. They're a little more we're seeing, but that's the other issue. And then that's leading to pressure on Jared Goff because now we can blitz a little or send 5 because we feel comfortable about our man-to-man, and then now he's got to throw the ball into tight man-to-man coverage, and we're going to have people around him and make the pocket tight around him, and those are the things we've seen Jared Goff struggle with in the past, and we'll see if he can fix that situation.
All right, and yes, because, look, the Lions' ability to compete with the best teams in the conference is on very thin ice right now. And I think as we get deeper into the season, and a lot of these, just the passage of time, the playing of games, it becomes clear. It's Philadelphia, San Francisco, Dallas. Those are the cream of the crop teams in the NFC, and anyone else is going to have a hard time beating any of those three teams. And it's going to come down to which two end up in the NFC Championship. All right, let's take a break. More PFT Live right after this. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.